Well, you may have seen it, but inflation is not great, and it's going to impact the real estate market. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and then we're also just going to talk about what the flows and trends in the market are right now, because there are some changes that we're seeing that could be very good or could be very bad, depending on how you look at it. So we're going to talk about that today. What's up, everybody? Mark Cannon here in the Phoenix area, giving you your monthly market trends. So we're going to try and cover three things, try to be concise, try and keep this short for you. So we're going to cover where the market is right now, what the trends are. We're going to talk about inflation, because some things have changed and you guys need to know that. And then adding those two things together will bring us our third point of, okay, where's that going this year, right? So I might look down at my computer to get some information, but let's talk about where we are right now. So as of last month, we were sitting around 16,800 homes on the market. We are now sitting about 17,300. So we've come up a little bit. So that's good. Now, obviously, this number changes every day, changes every hour. All right. So by Friday, it could be under 17,000 again. So it just depends. But we've come up a little bit because, to me, the market has softened a little bit. The market is slowing down. Because of interest rates, because of inflation, and a lot of different things, we're going to see it balance out. And so we're seeing more of a balanced market, which is good. Now, let's remember, we're at 17,300. Normal market in Phoenix is 25,000 homes. So we're still well below, and we need to get more towards 25,000. So we're slowly getting there. So we'll see if that continues. With interest rates staying high, that's kind of where we're at. So interest rates, as of this morning, 7.3%. So obviously it's right around that number, and then you have your FHA, VA around 6.7. So it's one of those that when we have those numbers, it's like, all right, they haven't really changed. They were about the same as they were last month, if not a little bit higher. So why is all that happening? So let's talk inflation real quick. If you haven't seen it, their inflation numbers came out, and it wasn't good, because back in February, we were like, okay, we're at, I think it was like 3.1. Then we went up to 3.2 in March. And then, it was January, March, and then February. And then March, as numbers came in, and we're at 3.5. That's not good. So that means that lots of people are still spending. The government is clearly still spending, and they need to stop that, because that's not helping inflation. But when I look at consumers, if I'm just being honest, consumers are still spending. And that's a problem. And people aren't saving money anymore. They're spending. They're borrowing money. They're borrowing money to spend, whether it be car loans or credit cards or any of that stuff. We have a spending problem in the United States right now. We just do. And so consumers need to change their habits, and that hasn't really happened yet. So typically we don't see that happen until a recession hits. And that's kind of, when I'm reading a lot of different things, they're talking about we need a recession to cool down inflation, which it's not a great thing, but that's what needs to happen in order to cool down inflation, because they're still spending so much money. And the government needs to stop that, and people need to stop that. So that's just something that it's not great. If you want more information just on inflation, listen, I'm not an expert on it, but there is a guy I listen to, Clear Value Tax. It's on YouTube. I'll put his information in the description below if you want to check that out. There's a video he talked about inflation going up and why. So check that out, because he talks about that at length, and is very informative. So check that out. All right, we've talked about inflation. We've talked about where the market trends are going. So last month I talked about a lot of what we've seen in Phoenix is that the outskirts are slowing down to be a more balanced market. So like Goodyear, Buckeye, Queen Creek, stuff like that are being a more balanced market. Now we're starting to see that creep in towards the city center, where, Peoria is still pretty hot, Glendale is still pretty hot, Chandler, Gilbert's still pretty hot. So there's still markets that are hot. Now I'm not saying that there's 10 offers on every house. I'm not saying that, but there's still going off the market fairly quickly. So we still have some of that. It's all about, is it priced right? Is all the marketing done right? A lot of that stuff does matter, because there are people overpricing stuff right now and then reducing. But we are seeing right now a lot of people are giving concessions. That's been the trend for a year to 2 years now because of interest rates. Prices of homes, they're not negotiating prices of homes as much. It's more concessions off of the price of the home, so that way they can pay down the interest rates and do the buy downs and different things like that. So we're seeing a lot of that still. That hasn't changed. But where I'm more bearish is they were saying we were going to have anywhere from 2 to 4 interest rate cuts this year, because they were like, oh, inflation's coming down, it's going to be great. I don't think that's happening at this point. I think if we have one, I would be like, okay, maybe. 1 or 2 max for me is what I'm looking at. Now, listen, it's an election year. They can do whatever they want, clearly. But I think based off the inflation numbers, they're going to have a really hard time cutting rates at this point. So we were thinking it was going to happen in July. If it's going to happen, it's going to be in the fall. It's going to be late fall, maybe October. Again, that all depends on what happens with inflation. If inflation all of a sudden dramatically comes down, which I don't see happening, maybe they'll lower interest rates. I don't think they're going to lower interest rates till the end of the year. If that would be the earliest to me. That's where I'm bearish on this. So there's still people that are trying to be bullish and trying to be optimistic about it, but I'm more bearish on this. I think it's going to take longer for interest rates to come down because of inflation. So it's one of those that for me, I just don't see it to where we might still hover around 7 for a while, which will cool the market down some as far as real estate goes. Maybe we get a little bit more listings on the market. Maybe. We'll see. So I know there's a lot of people that aren't selling their homes because interest rates are too high. So that will probably continue to be the trend where we won't have enough inventory. So I don't see inventory getting back to 25,000 anytime soon, but hopefully we get closer to it. But it's one of those that if sellers aren't going to come back on because they have those low interest rates, I just don't know if I see it. So it's one of those that if you guys have more questions on this, reach out to me. I'd love to get together and just talk with you about it. Just talk through, if you're thinking about buying or selling or investing or whatever it is, let's have a conversation because it's all about you, what's best for you. It's not about me. It's not about any of that. But is it the right time? Is it not? Because listen, right now you can negotiate and get stuff from sellers. So if you're looking to buy, might be a time to do it because you might be able to negotiate and get what you want. So let's have a conversation. My information's below. Hope you'll reach out. Guys, you've been listening to The Real.